Commission to order. Commissioner Sutton, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. First on the agenda, we've got ordinance 106, the correct legal description on 103, second reading and possible adoption.
And that is just changing the legal description that was published, or we passed the wrong one the first time. So it's just a correction on the legal description.
Yeah, correction. Did everybody get the chance to look at this one? It was Lot 2, Clipfield subdivision?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any questions on it? Then I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, seconded by Fishbeck. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We had a motion from Sutton, seconded from Fishbeck on approving the correction on that legal for the Clipfield.
Okay, so that was, second reading and adoption of 106.
Right.
It was Sutton and
Fishbeck.
okay. Who did the pledge? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. Should we go to your list then?
Okay, minutes from December 13th.
Did everybody get the minutes?
Move 'em.
Moved by Fishbeck,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. Any questions or amendments to those? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims, and we added Dakota Press.
I'll move it. Moved by Hanson,
Second.
seconded by Fishbeck. Questions on the claims? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
There's documentation in the packet. It's a bid for 60-minute, 4,500 cylinders. From
25 cylinders, 25 60-minute.
Oh, yeah, 25, 25 60-minute, 4,500 cylinders, and it's off the Pennington County Fire Department's bid, and it's for the rural fire chiefs, and it's to be funded by Homeland Security funds.
I'll move it.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Hanson. Any questions on that?
I saw it.
I did. And it is a 2017 expenditure. They'll order them now, but they won't be delivered until 17.
Good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The updated county fair board's bylaws are in the packet.
Everybody get a chance to read through those?
Did you want to wait until you find out what the changes were, Rachel?
Yeah, can we put those off one?
I would like
Sure.
to too, because it
Yeah?
could tell what changes were made or...
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna, get a version that's either underlined or colored with the changes.
Okay, I'll
Do
just
it next
do
week.
next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that is all I have.
Okay, that brings us to our next item on the agenda. Dirk Rogers, Highway Superintendent, and Eric Sanger with NECOG to discuss infrastructure grant application and bridge grants. Good morning, gentlemen. How are ya?
How are you? Good.
Great.
We'll talk about the infrastructure grant we're applying for first. Little quick background, it's for improvements associated with the, I should say while it is for improvements that are associated with the bean plant out there on the east side of town. In a perfect world, these are all things, this isn't completely superfluous, and it isn't 100% specific to the bean plant. In a perfect world, these are all things that we probably would have done at these locations anyway. They're logical things, adding turning lanes, and we should be happy that the plant got sited where it did to some extent, because there's been a lot of economic development projects where someone has land, but then you got to spend a lot more money than what we're talking about here to run all your infrastructure and roads and whatnot into it. So that's kind of the background of this. We're going to apply for this grant. It's 50% match, and I'll let the professional talk about the rest of it.
So this is a local infrastructure improvement program. It's through the Governor's Office of Economic Development. The money's specific for infrastructure projects that deal with economic development activities. The dollars can be used for infrastructure, cannot be used on like AGP's property, so it's infrastructure leading to it, those types of things. And as Dirk mentioned, it's for some intersections. It's for 3 specifically intersections: Brown County 14 and 132nd Street, Brown County 13 and Brown County 14, and then the intersection of Brown County 13 and Highway 281, and then there is a small piece as well for a water and sewer extension that's at 8th Avenue and Production Street that will do some looping for the project. We've been told by the state, based on some of the initial cost estimates that were provided some time back when this was being developed, that you can apply for up to $308,500. That's what's in the application. The initial cost estimates here are just above a 50-50 match, so it's $619. So what Brown County's match would be is $310,500. Application for this isn't due until the end of January. The state has asked, though, that we try to get something in before the end of the year, which is why we tried to get this done. And so this will get sent off upon your approval if that takes place. The board will not hear this, though, until probably into early March. And so sometime, I would guess, middle of March timeframe, you'll know kind of where the status of this is, if it follows a traditional schedule for it. We don't have a lot to do with the administrative side on the back end. We're certainly open to answering any questions and helping out with the process, but GWD usually will deal directly, and so Dirk will probably be dealing with them on a lot of things, and then I can certainly answer questions on anything if and when this is funded for the project. You'll notice that there's a number of things missing in the application because of some of the confidential nature of this information with AGP. It's just listed that it's on file with the Governor's Office of Economic Development. That's how they asked that we state that in the application. So if you see a couple of the pages that don't have anything filled out, that's why there's a note at the top of that. So with that, that's a quick rundown of it. I'm happy to answer any questions about the program. I'll defer to Dirk if you have any questions on the construction side of anything. And if you don't have any questions, I've provided 2 copies. One says original at the top, one's a file copy, one's for your purposes. I need the original one back.
Any questions?
Is the city of Aberdeen eligible to apply for any like funds out of this fund to cover some of their costs?
I'm going to defer this question to...
This is the only pot of money,
okay.
And the water and sewer portion of it, partially for brevity, I've had a talk with the city, and we'll probably be addressing and having them match 50% of what those sewer and water costs are. But rather than complicate it and have them turn around and submit the same kind of grant for, you know, $50,000 on top of this, we just put it all into one. So that's the only thing really, and I don't know what they're doing specific on 8th Avenue. You know, they probably have a little something they have to address there, but I don't think it's substantial, you know, where the entry to the plant will be. So that's we kind of thought that'd be a smoother way of doing this. Just roll it in, and then we'll address it with them after the grant gets awarded.
I think this is the right way to do it. I just didn't know if maybe they were eligible for some other funds to help offset their costs, because it was kind of a unified effort to get them to come here, and I know the county agreed to certain things along with the city, so
technically
this makes sense.
Technically they would be. The state has asked that it be in one application in terms of how that would work out.
Sure, makes sense.
They can just put on a half-cent sales tax anyway if they need one.
So those intersections you're talking about, what exactly are we going to do with those? Just make them wider or what?
There'll be and I have drawings. I don't have them with me. I can show you. But at
turning lanes?
Yeah, 8th Avenue and 14 will be the most. That's why that has the largest cost. That'll have the largest impact there. There'll be a 3rd lane, turning lane in the middle, going both ways, and there'll be another lane added up at Prairiewood and 14 for southbound traffic, and then the intersection at 14 and 12. This does not include the stoplight, Rachel.
It's
But,
extra.
Are we gonna stop?
yeah, but that's part of what the DOT's doing, that's independent of what we're...
Yeah, the DOT
what we're
has two
doing.
different intersections that they're looking at.
addressing. And down there, the big thing there is the storage, because they're gonna add an extra lane, so you gotta have the storage when the light's red to store the, so many trucks, and that'll, you know, so that's gonna extend that up past RDO to the north. It's not included in the grant eventually, I think we're gonna wanna do something, turn it into the, development core too, eventually, but that wasn't identified right now. And then on a side note, the railroad crossing to the north on the state crossing line, the rough one that's up there between the mile south of Prairiewood, that's been programmed for 2018 through an entirely separate state railroad program to fix that crossing. So, I don't wanna get too far off base, generate more questions.
Doesn't the state have it as part of their plan to put in a turning lane coming from the north on 281 up to Brown County 13?
Yeah, I gotta double check that. There's two things that they're gonna wait and see how it affects the traffic pattern, you know, and eventually we may be revisiting County Road 13 and 281 out northwest of town, but as of right now, we're not planning anything there, so.
Is the 308,005, is that max per jurisdiction or per project?
That's just max in the whole fund. That's what's
Oh,
available.
that is the fund.
That is the
Yeah.
number that was given to us
Okay.
based on early estimates.
This
that
is
we
the
can
number you're
apply
applying for.
Gotcha.
The program does allow for more dollars, so if something was to happen, you certainly could go back and make a request if something comes up or something
Sure.
else needs to be added.
And it looks like they do have a 15% contingency built in.
Sure.
You guys do.
Yep. That's pretty standard.
Yeah.
I'll move approval of signature.
Motion from
Second.
Seconded by Fishback. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Outstanding.
Original one, that's fine. All right, appreciate it, guys.
Is
there any other questions for Dirk while he's here?
I have some more stuff.
Okay.
I will take care of all of this. It'll go in the mail here in the next day or two and be sent on, and
Good.
I'll copy information out to everybody on it, so.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thank you.
This thing's in Westport.
Slow.
Yeah.
Slow.
What else is going on, Dirk?
I have 2 bridge grants. These are, now if you remember, we applied for 4 preliminary engineering grants, and we were awarded 2 of them. One for the bridge north of Columbia, and one for the bridge by the Hall Pit on Road 11, which that thing, it's the last thing I ever do, we're getting that bridge replaced, my God. Keeps falling off the table. So we went through the process, we got our preliminary hydrology done, submitted to the state, so then the next step to apply for the actual design, construction, and design grant for the bridges. We did a TS&L the other day, it was cold, and went out and looked at the bridges with the state and the designers and kind of looked at a couple different options. We had 2, they're almost identical bridges. These 2 bridges are real similar. And we had 2 choices. One's a continuous concrete bridge, and that's where you've got your pilings in the ground, but you got a really thick deck. The deck kind of holds itself up, okay? Or a girder bridge where you actually have piers underneath, and then the bridge deck's a lot thinner because it's not just holding itself up, the girders underneath are holding it up. And that's the option that I decided to go with. The 2 bridges, everybody knows which ones I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Okay. If you paper people, don't call me later. And media, I'm sorry. And, they're both, okay, let's talk about the one north of Columbia first. The total project's $1.843 million. And our match is gonna be $553,070. The amount of the grants makes up that difference, $1,290,496.86. And on that particular bridge, you know, there's a point system. So they take all this criteria, length of your detour, traffic count, a whole bunch of stuff goes into it, and it generates a number. And they use that number to rank your bridges. The last bridge, the lowest number that was awarded in the last go-around was 48 something. okay? The bridge north of Columbia, and I don't have the number here, tested out, it came out with a pretty good number. It was like 47, and that bridge is scour critical. I'm getting into a whole bunch of extra stuff, but that gave it more points. And for different reasons, I wanted to add a few more points, so I offered an extra 10% match. So this bridge is a 70-30. By offering more match, you get more points, okay? And so that's why it's actually a 30% match on the bridge, and I feel pretty good about the point ranking on it, or at least what the engineers are basing that off of, that it would get awarded, okay? And I called the state to see if we could get in an auction, you know, if somebody,
31,
can we go 32%, you know? They said, no, it's one and done, so I'm trying to get these numbers up in a reasonable spot where we can afford the match still, and until it has
.5, 30.5.
So, that's that one. And these are two separate grants, so I don't know if you gotta take separate action, but there's a spot to sign them if you're...
I'll move it.
Okay, we got a motion on the bridge north of Columbia,
Second.
seconded by Sutton. Any questions on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The other bridge, the one by the Hall Pit, which is actually, in my opinion, a little more critical to the county system as a whole. For one reason that drives me nuts, that bridge is posted, but that's the road that we leave open year-round with no load limits on it, except it's got a posted bridge on it. I mean, it's going, really? That makes absolutely no sense. However, because it's not scour critical, we got that low rock crossing to get over the elm a mile away, which isn't a super deal, but there is a rock, you know, up by Hall's farm there. So the points on this one aren't as good, unfortunately, even though, like I said, in my opinion, I think it means more to us than the other one does. Now, the guys at North Columbia probably don't agree with me. But having said all that, it came in at 41. So what I'm proposing to do is the maximum match you can offer is 50-50. And in this case, that's going to cost $906,000. That's our share. That's half the cost of the bridge. And that gets it up in that 47, 48 range for getting it replaced. Because if it's at 41 and we got to wait for it to get that high, I'm afraid we're going to end up paying the entire thing at some point again. And although I enjoyed that project up at Hecla and we got a nice thing out of it, I don't want to make a habit of spending $1.7 million of local money on stuff.
Better to pay half now than all later.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. And we don't have a whole bunch of these left. These, you know, the big ones over the Jim River. The one on Road 16, unfortunately, will have to get replaced here in the next probably 10 years. But outside of that, we are knocking some of these out. So, and I do understand between those two bridges, if they both were to get awarded in the 2018 budget, I'd have to set aside about $1.5 million in the construction project line to match these bridges, which is normally what we do with the construction money. Is we're building bridges with it anyway. So even if we do it this way, I will accommodate it in the budget. I'm not going to say, yeah, I need an extra $800,000 this year to do this. We'll move some things around and make it work.
So these get submitted now. When do you find out?
At the latest would be April.
Is it too late then to bid it for this year, or are you looking for 18?
It would be for 18 because they wouldn't get designed quick enough.
Gotcha.
If we want to pay $1.7 million again, we can get her done in a year, but like I said, I think that's a lot of money.
So these two bridges total, if my math is right,
Yep.
about 3.1 would be
3.7.
that the state would fund?
That's the whole thing. Would be 3.7, and then 1.4 would be, or 5 and 9. 1.4 would be us out of on the two bridges.
Right. So that's a pretty substantial. That's a pretty large amount of money when we only have 15 million statewide to work with. So the chances of both of these getting awarded are slim.
I'm trying to be optimistic,
Yep.
but I'm too realistic and cynical sometimes.
We're making a pretty good offer though, so.
We are, and that's what gets our points up.
That's kind of what we'll try it, but I mean, like Dwayne makes the point, we do have up to, well, we're up to 15 million now in the big program, but are they gonna give almost 4 million of it to Brown County in 1 year, you know?
Well, you go West River, they don't have bridges.
No, that's true, that's true. So, but anyway, I guarantee if we don't apply, we're not getting
Yeah,
anything.
right.
So-
Worth a try.
So let's just throw them in, and we'll keep, if it doesn't, you know, if one of these doesn't make it the first go-round, or if both of them don't make it, then we're just gonna have to come back, and we'll go for a couple
Yeah.
years, but we can't go for 10 years on those 2 bridges and just leaving them
I
like
think that's
that.
a good effort.
So-
You need a motion on that second one?
Yep, I'll need a motion on the second one
I
as
would
well.
move that.
Motion by Commissioner Fishback,
I'll second it.
seconded by Sutton. Any other discussion on
That's the
the
50%
small
match.
gravel
Yeah.
pit bridge?
Yeah.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I have one little piece of new business here that just came up last night regarding Webb Water's right-of-way occupancy. You guys applied, and I would assume I presented this wrong. It was for, on November 29th, for 2 bores up near the intersection of Old Highway 10 and Prairiewood. One goes through Highway 10 right south of Road 13, and then the other goes through Road 13. And for either I had presented it as it's just one thing, they put in an application for each one of the bores. So you guys approved, I probably presented it as this one document was covering both the bores, but they called me back and wanted a separate one for the other bore. So it wasn't on the agenda, but this is actually something you acted on November
Who's doing it?
29th. It's Webb Water.
So which one did they do already?
I don't know.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Moved by Sutton, seconded by Fishback. Any questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
And I abstain.
Ms. Hanson abstaining. Motion carries.
And that's it, unless you guys have something. I touched briefly with Mark on the sign deal at Westport. We'll get something in there. I gotta double check with, I don't know how well we drive posts this time of year with them hydraulic drivers, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll get something in there though. I see a snowmobile drove through there right by that ditch too, so I guess it's good that we cleaned it up.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for Dirk this morning?
We must have one guy big enough to drive a post in, don't we?
I think so.
What'd you find out on the
Starting to get a little
right-of-way
hard though, I
occupancy?
think, out there.
Right.
On 13.
I was talking to, actually just talked to Mike Williams, called me back this morning, and I told him kind of the same thing I told you. I go, I'm as surprised as you are that we don't have one for that spot, and he was gonna look into it, and I went back through the file again this morning, and they have a whole department that does that stuff, so that's why it's very odd.
Sure.
So, but he's gonna find out, and I will have just to make sure, but
Yeah.
that's, you know, like I said, that usually doesn't happen with them.
Right.
Okay, anything else for Dirk? Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas to you guys.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we've got
You
Paul
on time?
Peterson.
Yeah, I'm running.
Yeah.
You're 10 minutes late.
I know, I figured you'd fill the time for me.
Copiers and contracts. How are you, Paul?
Good morning, good. Copies. Came in to ask, I've got some money left over from projects. I'd like to buy another Kia Sera for the IT department for development of the DM Connect software for our Square 9, just to streamline all the scanning that we're gonna be doing as the next year progresses. So, you know, the price doesn't change on these off-lease ones, they're pretty much been the same across the board, same warranty. And then I thought, if I put one in an IT department, anyone down in the vaults that needed to scan or copy things, they could sure use it for that also. But we're mainly looking at it for development.
This is off a bid that you have.
Yes, this is off, you know, with that DM Connect within our Square 9, it makes it quite a good little proposition. I think we kind of have gone that direction with everything else, so, you know, state's attorney's scanning in yet, and we're looking at getting welfare going, because they've got file cabinets full of things they need to scan. And, as the vouchers should be finished up this week, so we'll be ready to start pushing forward.
So does this have the department tracker on it?
They all do, that's common on all of them, but you know, the price per page is, what I would do, we have an all-in-one, smaller unit down in IT now. We would probably just surplus that to HR, so they'll have a better scanning unit, and the copier would be what I would do with that machine. It's like a year old, so we're not even quite.
The one you have right now, the
One
1 year
now,
old?
the small little HP, yes.
Any questions
Something like
for
that,
Paul?
yeah, behind my desk. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I'll move approval.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Hanson. Any other questions on that copier? Is this similar to the ones we put up here?
Yeah, they're all the same.
Same thing?
Yeah.
And is that the same price we got for
Yes.
those?
Yep, I verified that before it came up, so. And they've held that price all year, so it's been pretty good for us.
And then
So,
it's got it's
The
a 5-year warranty?
5-year replacement on it.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay.
That's got the,
Motion
like,
carries.
Rachel to sign on it. My second thing, I would like to ask for a short exec to discuss a contract.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the contract.
Move it.
Moved by Sutton,
Second.
seconded by Fishback. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. We'll be in executive session.
Because of our
We are out of
ordinance,
exec and
or-
there is
Yeah, I suppose.
Might be the text side.
no action.
Some of the morning stuff, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
Was he here yesterday?
No, I,
Oh.
Next on the agenda, we've got Mark
Thank you.
Milbrandt, Sheriff, to discuss personnel.
Leroy.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Good.
Some personnel issues we need to talk about, I'm requesting to go into executive.
Okay, I entertain a motion to go into exec.
Move it.
Moved by Sutton.
Could've just told to stay.
Is there a
Sorry.
second? Seconded by Hanson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Let me read.
Motion carries, we will be in exec. We had okay, there was no action as a result of the executive session we were just in.
Okay.
However, the previous one, I would entertain a motion to authorize that we do an RFP for our managed print service, which is coming up for renewal here in 2017.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Sutton. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hanson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, that brings us to the end of the regular agenda. Did you have anything else come up over?
No.
Okay, Gary, did you have?
if you still want to look at the bylaw changes, Derek did send them to me, I can forward them to you, and then you can
I'd like
print them
some
out.
time to review them if I can, you know.
Okay, well, if you want to wait a week, still, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Is there a rush?
I'll get
Is
them
there a
all.
reason we have to do it before? I'd like if you could send it to me so I could read it in
You
color.
bet.
Okay, anything else, Gary?
No, that'll be all.
All right, anything from the commissioners in attendance? How about the folks here today? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Fishback, seconded by Sutton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Merry
Opposed, nay.
Christmas, everyone.
Motion
Merry
carries.
Christmas.
We're adjourned, and Merry Christmas.
Gotta get on the road.